All right, the next step in furthering your détaché, I have two exercises. The first thing is, as you do your détaché with your scales, this is the most simple way, it's to basically start on an up bow, because the natural tendency when we do détaché is to accent the down bow too hard, so we tend to do this. See how my down bow is accenting? So, you know, if you're playing a song or an etude, okay, and this is not good détaché. You know, remember, détaché is even speed, weight, and is an even consistent sound, almost to the point of being deathly boring. So it's very important to even out the détaché, which means that we can, you know, if we practice starting on an up bow, for some reason we tend to try to accent the up bow, and it starts to even out, or at least we reduce the accents on the down bow. So. Okay, and sometimes in extreme cases, when we're really not getting it, we practice accenting the up bow. So to basically counter our intuitive nature, so we'll do this. This is not the best practice, in my opinion, because you know, you're trying to keep everything even, and if we exaggerate in lightening up the down bow too much, you know, we're kind of getting a little too far from the end goal. However, in extreme cases when we can't really get the down bow to calm down and even out, yes, we do that. So that's the first way of practicing. If you're having trouble with your evenness of your down and up bows, it's to basically start with every group of 4 notes or whatever on an up bow, and actually to slightly accent the up bows to balance out the tendency to accent the down bows. The other way of practicing détaché, excuse me, is to start to now this is only if your hands mobility, your wrist mobility is still bothering you. If your wrist is mobile and, you know, the exercises that we, you know, do, the bow hold exercises, are basically settling in very well, and your wrist is very flexible, and you're able to actually do the détaché with your hand. And you have no real big problem with that, then there's no need to practice this too much. However, if not, then it's probably a good idea to practice string crossings with the wrist and using détaché. Because let's say you're starting to master proper détaché, okay, and it's pretty good. But then let's say your string crossings are not actually that comfortable, and you're just kind of glossing over it, and it's okay, you know. Then what can happen is that, you know, you're going to get sloppy with the string crossing. Okay, so you're going to practice, you're going to be playing, and then your string crossing you might do with your arm. You might tense up, which actually destroys the purity of your détaché and the technique itself, which means that you basically aren't doing détaché. I mean, I know it's a weird way to think about it, but I think Nathan Milstein is right when he says either you can do it or you can't. There's no, like, difficult. It's a little extreme, but that's the truth. I mean, if you're doing détaché, you're doing détaché with your hand consistently, string crossings, everything, you know, with your hand, flat hair, even, you know. But if not, if any part of the détaché is not there, you're not doing détaché. You're doing something getting close to détaché, which isn't détaché, right? So string crossings, all I would do is, well, if you want to start from the real basics, what you're trying to do is you're trying to go between 2 strings with your wrist. And as you see, I'm keeping the integrity of the détaché, flat hair, good stick, okay? and smooth bow changes and all that kind of stuff, okay? So that is a very important part of détaché, you know, the string crossings. So I would try just practicing with open strings at first, making sure you're isolating your wrist, okay? Like this, okay? Now, okay, so the if to get to that, if you're having trouble, you know, you can obviously start by doing circles with your wrist, okay? This is all I'm doing. Bump, bump, A, E, A, E, A, E, A, E, A, E, A, E, and so on, okay? It's not a big deal without the bow. However, as soon as you put something heavy and unbalanced the bow in your hand, it becomes more awkward, okay? So practice this first to get the feeling in your wrist and focus on really feeling it so that you can remember it even with something in your hand. Next step is to probably take the bow, hold it in the middle where it's less awkward, and try to do the circle motion, okay, with your wrist, okay? Now you can do the opposite circle motion as well, but for now we're doing this. We're doing down, up, down, up, down, up, right? So that's the first two steps. Those are the first two steps that you're supposed to do. And then once you do those two steps, and you feel very comfortable with them. So you know, I always say feel comfortable. The feeling of comfort is quite important because it means that you are no longer awkward with it, and at least you feel comfortable doing the next step. Okay, if you're not comfortable and you're just kind of, I did it once, you're clearly not even close to being ready. Okay, so let's say you're feeling comfortable, okay, and you can do it at the frog now, okay? Then your wrist is mobile enough to try this on the violin, okay? And then you would simply use your wrist to go down, do a down bow on the A string, okay, down bow, and then use your wrist to go down to the E string, up bow, down bow. So use the wrist to do the down bow itself as much as possible. Excuse me. Okay, and then you're going to use your wrist to go down to the lower level. Do the up bow, upper level with the wrist, down bow with the wrist, lower level with the wrist, and then the up bow with the wrist and fingers. So that's a breakdown. You can practice that if you want with staccato at first. So you go like this. Quick wrist motion, down. Okay, switch. Staccato up with your wrist, up, down, up. So it's very important that the staccato is done perfectly with the wrist. And what's very important, again, I say very important so many times, but what's very important is the reset, okay? So sometimes people do perfect one or two strokes. They're like, beautiful, they did it with the wrist. They switch strings with the wrist, and then, that was great too. But then after they're like, I got it. And then they start using their arm, and it falls apart. So the reset of every note in practicing this is very important. After you do that a while, you'll be able to basically do the wrist string crossing a little more easily, okay? There are different ways to think about it, but some people like to think of it as flapping. They say it feels like you're flapping your hand or rotating your hand in a clockwise motion. These are just some ways that people express the feeling. So if you're flapping, right? Or rotating clockwise. I guess from my angle it's clockwise, from your angle counterclockwise, right? So in any case, that's a very important part of developing, fully functional détaché. As you get the rotational motion and string crossing better, make sure that you're also keeping that pressure in the bow and keeping it constant, so you're not like, I hit it with my wrist, but too light, right? And you can try messing around and adding some fingers. You could practice thirds. I find this idea of practicing the thirds with the détaché is a very kind of a cheat way of getting a little bit of double stop practice in, as well as practicing the string crossing for a solid and perfect détaché. All right, so that should be the next step. I think that's almost everything for détaché. If I have more, I'll suggest some more ideas in the next video. Okay, bye.